Welcome to Pack It Like It's Hot, the official podcast from MJS Packaging, where we dive into real-world packaging insights with the people who know it best, our team, our partners, and other industry pros. Let's get started. Today, we welcome Deborah Jacob, member of our Board of Directors and Chair Emeritus, and Elyse Jacob, also a member of our board. Both Elyse and Deborah are fourth-generation members of the Jacob family. As we wrap up the celebration of our 140th anniversary this year, we want to discuss our past, present, and future. Welcome, Deborah and Elyse.
Great to be here. Thank you, Cindy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Elyse, your dad, Marty, was our longest-serving company president. He was at the helm for over 40 years and had a number of beloved Martyisms. Tell us a little bit about your dad and your favorite of his many phrases.
Sure. First, I want to thank you for inviting me to participate in the podcast and to be part of the 140th anniversary celebration. It's really a great honor to be on the board, and especially since, obviously it was started by my great-grandfather, Max, and where my grandfather, Ben Jacob, and then Father Marty Jacob spent their careers. So I feel really honored to be here and part of this. So as far as Marty, yes, he was president for many decades, but I think what is even more impressive is that he worked for MJS Packaging for over 70 years.
Wow.
These days, that is like unheard of.
It is.
Yeah.
He worked 10 years at a place. It's considered a lot, but 70 years. And he started out, as some of you may know, but he started out sweeping the floors in the warehouse. And then when he turned 16, he was sometimes the driver for founder Max Jacob. Marty talked about when he would drive Max, he'd learn from him because they would go to visit many customers, and he'd learned a little bit about the business, but also the importance of regular visits and in person, which was really key at the time. Marty slowly, as he would say, he worked his way up from the warehouse to sales and then eventually to management. As a manager, he listened and he learned and he treated all employees well, no matter what their positions in the company. So you mentioned Marty's isms.
Yes.
It makes me smile. He did have a lot of them. And at one point, Paul Styler, current board member and longtime employee, also at not 40, maybe he was, no, I don't think, maybe 40 years, but certainly not 70 years.
Probably, yeah.
He's retired and now on the board. But he gave me a list. He had actually been compiling, gave me a whole list, and a lot of them I didn't know. But the one which I think sums up the business at that time and with Marty was, quote, "You don't lose an account on price, you lose it on service." Marty was all about relationships and service. And of course, now you must win on price and service.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that kind of sums up, there's plenty of stories about Marty, but I think that kind of sums up who he is and his contributions and long history there.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing those memories and everything of him. Deborah, your dad, Joel, was also instrumental in the company and especially in forming the legal structure. Could you share a few words about him and his legacy at our company?
Oh, absolutely. My father served as a lawyer in World War II with the Judge Advocate General's office. And when he returned to Detroit, he eventually became the chairman of the board of what was then M. Jacob and Company. It still is, M. Jacob and Sons. But in 1956, when Congress passed the sub-S regulatory structure, my father was instrumental in changing us from a C Corp into a sub-S, which was designed for the advancement of small family businesses. Subsequent to that, my father, without him, we would not have our current shareholders agreement, the amendments to the shareholders agreement, our non-disclosure agreements, or any of the legal documents which set the framework for how we operate legally as a company. And these are extremely important. Over the many years that my father was chair, he dealt with a number of drama situations, I'll call them, which is not unlike what many, many family businesses go through.
Oh,
And I
certainly.
think that, I think that most people that serve on family business boards would be well served to also do what we've done, and that is to research a lot of how family businesses have faded away, how they've made the wrong decisions, how they've leveraged themselves into oblivion, et cetera, et cetera. So these are really important things. And without my father, we wouldn't have had not only the legal framework, but he navigated through some very, 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 as Elyse knows, difficult HR matters over the many years. So in essence, I think every shareholder and all of us owe my dad an awful lot.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. Deborah, could you talk?
Well, before that, I just want to add, I remember Joel, and he, to me, was your view of a lawyer. I mean, he was just so distinct, handsome, distinguished looking. And I had tended, prior to being on the board, I was at a couple shareholders meetings, and, he would sit in the front, and, I just remember him in that view. But what I wanted to say is, and it wasn't, he didn't kind of asking the question, but I know that Joel would be so proud of Deborah continuing in his footsteps as chair of the board, not just because she was chosen, but she had a whole business background and in banking, and brought this whole professionalism. So while Joel started out and put the legal framework, it was really Deborah in her tenure as board chair that brought us into where we are now in a much more professional and human resources. I mean, it's very different from just family, which is nothing wrong with family business, but really changing the whole work environment and the responsibilities and goals and objectives. And we still have ways to go, but it really was Deborah continuing on that.
Deborah, could you talk about another family member, and that would be Elyse Jacob. Elaine is a pioneer at our company and in the packaging industry. What can you share about Elaine?
Elyse Jacob is a true icon, not only to MJS Packaging, not only to our entire industry, but also to women everywhere. When you realize that she got a degree from Wayne State in 1942 or 1952 and went to work for the company in 1953, let's face it, those were the days when women were supposed to stay home and have children and or become a teacher. And Elyse Jacob was a very, very strong woman. She was extraordinarily talented. And she understood after World War II, when polypropylene first came on the scene, that this was the next big jump in packaging. And she brought on, who later became our greatest salesman, Bob Styler, and she and Bob and Marty formed this triad and brought us into the modern world of plastic packaging. Not only did she become the first female to be the president of the National Association of Container Distributors, but remember, she was the only woman sitting around with a bunch of guys that were drinking, smoking cigars, and playing cards.
Right.
And she brought professionalism to the organization. She was a mentor of mine. I remember her extraordinarily fondly.
And we used to joke too, because it was M. Jacob and Sons, and we used to say Annie Lane.
right.
But
yeah, there's a little asterisk.
I have the fondest memories of her and a role model, and having talks with her, and she was just like I said, a pioneer in the industry, and for women, and my level for my sister and I.
Elyse, we've been around for 140 years, which has spanned a lot of different things in the world around us, right? So looking back at moments like Prohibition, economic downturns, even COVID, what do you think has allowed our company to stay resilient throughout all these different times of uncertainty?
Well, I think Deborah, pointed out a lot when she was talking about Joel and the structure. So I think that, really was a foundation. I can't say I know much about Prohibition. I know some stories.
Sure.
But I don't know so much about that, but I do know, during economic downturn and certainly during COVID, I would say what first comes to mind, is the dedication of the employees. Many have worked for, M. Jacob and Sons for a long time, and working there is not just a job. I've heard that from people. It's family. And whether you were born a Jacob or not, you are considered family when you work there. Employees are treated well, and in turn, they have done whatever it takes to keep things going during hard times. And that was certainly during COVID, whether they had to come to the office in the warehouse doing things or, they were at home working. The dedication was really there. We're on I think it's Southern Michigan's Crane's Best Places to Work list, and it's an example of employee satisfaction. So I would say employees is what first comes to mind, the dedication and treatment. And then just other factors that I thought of is like the financial strength, long-term relationships with banks. I think we're Comerica's first customer,
right.
Supply. Our suppliers, our customers, those relationships, keeping our core business, like, distribution of bottles. I mean, that's core, but also always looking out for new opportunities that might surface in times of economic downturn.
Yeah. Deborah, talk about culture, if you would, please. What makes us unique?
Company cultures, corporate cultures are all different, but one thing they have in common if they're going to succeed, they've got to be fluid. They've got to be built on trust. They've got to respect the employees. Elyse brought that up. That's extraordinarily important. They have to have good communication, and you have to motivate your employees and empower them to want to exceed. A lot of people call it entrepreneurship. I call it intrapreneurship because, they're using internal money, not external money. But these are the things that I think Cranes looks at least I think it is. And these are the things that make for a successful business. People want to continue to work for us, and people want to be successful, and they want our company to be successful. We've done put a number of programs in place since I've been there. One is our executive stock program, which empowers our executives to have a piece of the action. They become owners of the company, not just our family members. And these are part of the ways that we build trust. Another thing is that in order to be really successful, you've got to really push and drive the adoption of new mindsets and behaviors as time passes. And that's what we do every single day.
So, sometimes when we think about how old we are, it's hard to believe that we've been around as long as Dr. Pepper, as Crayola. Those are other companies that were started in 1885, which seems crazy. And yet, after 140 years of history, we're still moving forward. Elyse, what excites you most about the future of our company?
Well, I think right now our current leadership, which, we talked about moving from the sort of family, all family run, not so much trained, to much more professionalism. So I'm excited about that. But I'm also excited about expanding our leadership with both, maybe hiring people with more experience, years of experience in distribution in other companies that can bring ideas to us, as well as I'm very excited about the younger generation of professionals who are already embracing AI and can, teach us what they're doing already, but also who knows what the future will be with AI. So that, I just can't imagine really what, but it will. I would think AI systems, distribution, logistics. We could lower costs. We could boost efficiencies. There'll be new business models for distributions. I mean, so many things. Also, I'm excited about the unknown business that I don't know about now. But we're always looking, and Deborah always has pushed this. What's out there, not going extreme, and always trying to find the match that fits our culture. So not just grabbing something because it's there, but what other business we might bring into and be part of MJS Packaging. So I don't know what that is, but I'm excited. I'm excited for it when it comes. And I always, at the board meetings, my ears open up if there's something we're looking at. And then I would say, on a personal note, I remember I was alive for the 75th, but I don't really remember. I just remember the big picture that rolled up with all the people. It was like huge, and it was like a big long picture. But I wasn't at the 75th, but I remember the 80th, the huge celebration. I remember the 100th. I remember the 120th that Deborah and others worked so hard on that are still with the company. And I'm looking forward to the next decade and being part of the 150th. And I hope by then the next generation too of Jacob family members that will be on the board coming up and continuing what was laid out so many years ago.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Deborah, anything that you want to add to that about what excites you?
I just want to mirror what Elyse said. I'm very excited because in the not too distant future, and I harp on Matt all the time, is that one of the things that I focused on as one of my biggest priorities was succession planning. And that was Matt. And we worked very hard to bring Matt on board. I remember schmoozing with his mother to try and get him to give up his job, which was not easy, trust me. So now it's his turn. And I keep telling him, Matt, you're still young, but you're not that young. And so you've got to start thinking about succession planning. This is a big priority of yours. So as we go forward, that also includes the board of directors. Who's out there? Who would be the best younger generation to bring onto the board when the time comes? Elyse and I aren't going anywhere for the moment, and I hope we never go anywhere, but eventually we will. And these are all very important processes for a family business. And that's one of the reasons that family businesses are so different from the large publicly traded C Corps that are on Wall Street. It's not only that, but it's the fact that when we make decisions, it's not nebulous money that's floating out in the sky like it was when I was in banking. Mm-hmm. This is our money. Right. So we're much more circumspect when we make decisions, and we're much more cautious on how we go about making these decisions.
Definitely. Well, thank you both for joining us today. This has been wonderful to spend some time with both of you and just to hear your thoughts and insights, just from what you remember from when you were younger and watching your dads in the business to now your roles on the board and where you see us going in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Great conversation.
Yeah, Elyse, I want to thank you very much. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's a great opportunity, and I guess future generations can listen to this.
Thanks for listening to our MJS podcast. Make sure to follow and listen on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Tune in next month when we will be joined by another packaging expert. And remember, packaging solutions are just a click away at mjspackaging.com.